Hello, everyone. I'm Sequoia, and today I'm having a fantastic conversation with another author that I have the privilege of knowing and getting to know her work. Her name is Dr. Shelia Craig Whiteman, and she's a doctor of physical therapy and a health coach. And she's written the book To Pee or Not to Pee. And I believe she has another book that's coming out that I'm going to have her introduce, which is her second book. But this is going to be a conversation about pelvic floor health. And we're going to dive in and find out from her what she's recommending to keep your body healthy in the pelvic floor area. So I want to just welcome her to this conversation. Sheila, how are you doing today? And please just let me know if there's something that I left out about that interview or that introduction that I just gave of you. How are you?
I am doing fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for asking, and thanks for doing the interview. I really appreciate it. That introduction was great. You had referenced my second book. I do have a second book coming out on a similar topic. So the first book is To Pee or Not to Pee. It's a guide for reducing urinary incontinence. More of a program type of a book because it relates to the program I have to help women to reduce and eliminate their bladder leaks. But the second book came about because there were still more questions that women were asking that I really didn't cover in the first book. So before I close the door on the bladder leaks / urinary incontinence chapter, I just decided to finish and write the second book to answer any additional questions that people had. And hopefully that will really help women, and it does help men also, but primarily women, to understand how to reduce their bladder leaks if they have it. And I'll have to say, because many women come to me and say, I don't have bladder leaks. Well, you don't want to have bladder leaks. So it's also, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
So it can be preventative. You really still need to know the information. It really happens to almost 50% of us. That's a huge number. Of course, it's within your lifetime. But if you can do, as we all know, if you can do things early on, you can eliminate problems at a later date.
Yeah, that's
so
why
I don't want to.
I really just love that we're talking about this, but not because, you and I have similar pelvic floor work that we do. With my first book, it was on erectile dysfunction. And I talk about in that book that, it's not just men who have erectile dysfunction. There's, the whole pelvic floor is something that most of us don't understand from a health perspective, but also from a sexual functionality perspective. We don't understand that area of our body because it's been so taboo to talk about or to even look at. Show your doctor, but don't don't talk about it with your partner, which is so silly, right? So I'm really happy to have this conversation with you because I think pelvic floor health and well-being is something that you don't want it to atrophy. You want it to be something that you know about so that you are doing the wellness practices that will allow you to never have the problem of, incontinence or, ED for that matter. So talk a little bit about that, and who are the people who are finding you? Why are they finding you? And what is the things that they're saying to themselves about their incontinence?
So some of the things that women say, and I'll just back up just a minute, just to make a quick point. What you just said, because you had referred to the pelvic floor of men and women. And it's funny, I just took a sexual health course, men and women, this past weekend. The anatomy and some of the functions of the pelvic floor muscles are the same in men and women. So where you have the penis in men, you have the clitoris in women, that is really the, you know, kind of the main change in the urethra, because the urethra, of course, comes out of the penis.
Yeah.
But other than that, we're really kind of similar.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
Really kind of,
It's
yeah.
amazing. Nobody knows that unless you are a pelvic floor therapist. Like
Right.
when I'm teaching a man about a woman's body, I first have to teach them about their body, because they don't even know
Yes.
that their body is basically the same thing. There's the same amount of
Yes.
erectile tissue,
Mhm.
and they do
Mhm.
similar things. But because I think so, this is my own little secret thing. I think that sexual education in school systems are not teaching sexual education. They're basically teaching reproductive education. They're not
Correct.
teaching
Because,
about that actual part of the body. Again, going back
Mhm.
to this whole taboo thing. And I'm so glad you wrote a book, To Pee or Not to Pee, because I feel like
Mhm.
we're like those really daring sisters authors, you know, like,
Right.
you know, we both have written really challenging conversation, you know, books.
Yeah, and one of my goals actually is education. You don't have to have bladder leaks actually even to work with me, talk to me, etc. But one of my goals is so that women learn what is going on in their body. When I was in the clinic, and I would actually, we have models to show women where the muscles are. They, number one, did not know that there were muscles down there that even existed, and what they even did.
Right.
And thought that the function that they had was correct, and it was not. So there's just a whole array of misconceptions that people have about their pelvic floor.
Right.
I'm really, really happy now that pelvic floor therapy, men and women, is becoming more commonplace, and pelvic floor knowledge. Because if you look back 20 years, nobody was talking about it. Right. Nobody. Yeah. You had issues, well, you had issues. So now there's a lot of help for that.
That's great. That's great. Oh my God. I'm so glad there are people like you out there, just to, you know, because it's something that people, not just women, but people really suffer for. But so who are you finding are actually searching for you? Are they women who have had children, and then after they've had the baby, they're finding that they have bladder leaks and they feel like they have to have surgery and they don't want surgery? What is this group of people who you work with mainly?
Yes, so there are a couple of scenarios because it is actually so common. Bladder leaks actually can happen at any age. So you do not necessarily have to be older. You don't necessarily have had to have children.
Okay.
You to have a bladder leak. There are many reasons why it happens. But the type of person that I can help would be the person who, say, for example, has leaks when they laugh, cough, sneeze, exercise, that kind of thing. The kind of person who is at work and they have to go to the restroom every hour, 45 minutes, whatever, because they have urinary frequency. It is the person, there's a lot of people, just give you a couple of examples, but it's the person who cannot get a good night's sleep because they're getting more than 1 to 2 times a night to go to the bathroom. So, yeah, those are the kind of people that I can help. Or even the urge incontinence people, where they are, every time they come home from wherever or go somewhere and they hear running water, they see a bathroom, they are putting their key in the door to go in their home, it triggers a response to release an urge that says, you've got to go to the bathroom now. And if you do not have strong pelvic floor muscles, you will leak. So there are several different scenarios. The actual best way to find out if I'm someone who would be able to help you is certainly to set up a consult, because we all do consults in order to figure out what your issue is. where you should go. Because of course I want you to get the best help you possibly can. If you tell me something that triggers me to say, okay, well, you really need to see someone else, then of course I will tell you that and refer you out. But there are many cases where that does not have to be the case. And my program is online, so it is extremely convenient. And that way you'll be able to do it in your own time, get a lot of education and have access for the time that you're in the program and a little bit of time afterwards to ask the questions and to make sure that you're getting what you need in order to get better, which may or may not be the case, if you have to go out to a clinic and just, wait for an appointment, et cetera, et cetera.
That's great. One of the things that I was thinking is, I think it's actually a fantastic thing, especially with COVID, that you can help someone with this issue and they don't have to be in your town, city,
Yes.
close to you. You can actually help online. And I'm guessing that there's exercises. Is this that the root of it? There's exercises that, how quickly do exercises that you work with people change things around?
So once you actually learn how to do the exercises correctly, one of the main problems is that women and men, because men have the problem more related to prostate, but they do have problems with bladder leaks, is they're told by their doctor that if you do Kegels and strengthen your pelvic floor, you will get better. Now, when you're in the clinic as a therapist, you actually can test to see. It's the easiest way. You can look exteriorly, but you can also test, because it's really easy, you're time constrained, to see if they have pelvic floor strength. And I say, out of the hundreds of women, so many, the ones who thought that they were doing Kegels correctly were not. One of the main problems and reason why that instruction usually doesn't work and people get discouraged is because of you're doing them not correctly. So there are strategies that I can help you and show you so that you can know and feel that you're doing them correctly. Once you start doing them correctly, then you're actually on the path to make sure that you are eliminating your bladder leaks. And we also have to make sure too, very important, and you even probably know this doing your ED work, is that you have to have muscles that are not tight.
Yes.
So they can't be tight all the time and hypertonic, because you will not get anywhere. It actually will wind up being painful. And then you're in a whole nother realm of treatment issues and things that you need to work on. So the work together closely to get your base information together. To work on that. Once you get that, then there are a lot of all the other factors, because there are more. It's not as simple as doing Kegels. There are actually other exercises that will help you too.
Right.
So there's a lot of other things that you would learn in the course that will be able to help you to reach your goal. And you should start seeing, once you get the Kegels, you'll start seeing a difference in a couple of weeks. It won't be gone because it will not be gone. I always tell people that. But once you start seeing progress, people are more inclined to stick with it until they reach their goal, because you're not discouraged.
Right. Well, that's fantastic. So I'm guessing that the result that you are getting for people is this management of the pelvic floor. What would you say? What would you say the results that most people are looking for would be?
So the result that you're looking for depends on why you came, why you look for me.
Yeah.
So if you look for me because you don't get any sleep at night, because you're getting up, your optimal result, and this is quite doable, it actually is quite doable, is to get up no more than one time at night.
And yeah, because it affects your sleep. If you're constantly getting up, that actually affects your sleep. And
and for many women, we don't go back to sleep once we wake up. Because it up, then it's okay. Well, what do I have to do the next day? I didn't do this today. What do you know? What do I do this? Oh my goodness, I'm hungry. I wonder if I have to get,
Mm.
it just goes on and
Right.
on and on and on. So you really don't even want to wake up, because once you wake up, that's a whole nother can of worms. But
This
so
is
you
so
can't
great.
for that. That's the goal for that.
Yeah.
If you can't be, even during the day, if you have frequency, you can't sit during a meeting, or you're just anxious during a meeting because you don't want people to know you have to get up, keep getting up to go to the bathroom, or that you're wearing pads.
Right.
Okay, so that goal is, I want you and to have at least 2.5 to 3 hours in between going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Very doable. But we get.
Great.
If your goal is to stop leaking every time you cough, et cetera, that's what we work towards. And the result for that is, depending on how long you've had the problem, the result can either be it's gone, or the result can be it happens so infrequently because of, a lot of women, if you really have a good laugh, sneeze, cough, and you're not prepared, a few drops, and we need to just stop pretending like it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, but if it becomes a problem, that's when you start to try to seek help. And the goal there would be, this doesn't happen. Like yours would happen just like mine or anybody else's. Like I really have to have a good sneeze and have a full bladder and everything else that, would go along with it. For these ads, it would just be a couple of drops.
Yeah.
Not that it's going to have a full blown issue.
Right. So let me ask you, is there any tips that you would like to let the people who are watching, or the people who are like catching this video after our conversation, what is a tip to keep a person, let's say a woman, who has had bladder leaks, she's had children, and she's considering having surgery, and she doesn't want surgery, but she's feeling like there's no other option? What would you tell a woman who's dealing with that? Because this is a very vulnerable, this is a very vulnerable whole situation, right? So what tip would you give that woman who doesn't want surgery? She's considering surgery. What is the thing that you think could be immediately applied?
So I think the one thing that could be immediately applied would be making sure that your pelvic floor is strong.
Okay.
The reason why surgery is usually suggested and applicable is because your bladder has dropped, or because you have some type of a prolapse, which is discussed in the book that I just did. That's what that surgery is. People say surgery, but they don't quite know what it is.
Yeah.
And I've actually had friends that have come to me and said, my doctor said I should have surgery. And I'm like, for what?
Right.
I don't know. This is their response. I don't really know. But he said I should have surgery so that I stop leaking. Like, no. That is literally your last resort, because for some people it is imperative that you have it, but it is a last resort. So pelvic floor strengthening, and I can tell you, when you're doing, the one thing I want to leave you with is that when you're doing your pelvic floor exercises, number one, you do them daily. This is not I'm going to do a couple of Kegels once a month and my pelvic floor is going to be fabulous, because that's not going to happen. So you have to be consistent. And also, when you do your Kegel, you want to be able to be sure that you're targeting the muscles you're supposed to target. So when you're doing your Kegel, if you feel like you're holding your breath, if you're sucking in your stomach, pulling your thighs together, lifting your buttocks, well, that's your cue that the Kegel is not there and it's not what you're doing. But
that's a good tip
with all the other
everybody.
muscles.
If you're holding your breath, if you're sucking in your stomach, if you got the sensation of the butt pucker, those are not you doing your Kegels correctly. Hint, you want to have someone like Shelia to actually help guide you, because if you're doing the exercise wrong, it's not going to be beneficial or worth your investment of time, right?
That is so correct. And that really is the main thing. If you can get it correctly, you'll be on the way to doing what you're supposed to do and reaching your goal. If you don't, you'll have continued issues.
Awesome. How do they get a hold of you? I have put your contact information in the Facebook Live description. Anything else you want to let people know on how to get a hold of you?
So you can always, if it's in the description, please scroll down. You can always just go to my calendar and schedule an appointment. I would love, love, love to speak to you, to be able to talk to you about your problem and see if there is something that can be done to help you. In addition to that, I believe my Facebook and Instagram information is on there. So you can look me up through there, just if you want to look and see who is this person. And also, if I do people correspond through email too. So
Okay.
you can email me. It's the pelvic, just PILVIC, because people like to say pelvis, pelvic with a C, dpt@gmail.com. So
Great.
those are all that you can contact me. There is also a link in the comments where you can download a free copy of my first book.
Yay.
That'll get you on your way to understanding what is going on and then determining if you need help and
Great.
where to go.
And this is, people, this is not just for women who have had babies. It's for everyone, because so many of us don't have any idea what that region of the body really requires for well-being and health. Just like, we also don't realize like the exercises of the face or, any other mysterious part of the body. I'm so glad to have this conversation. I hope you all reach out to Shelia, and Dr. Shelia, I really appreciate you coming on and having this interview with me. I know personally so many people, men and women, who have these kinds of issues. So I'm hoping that you can put a shift in the world around to pee or not to pee. So thank you so much.
You are quite welcome. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much also.
You're welcome. All right, until next time, peeps, keep on being real with your intimate parts. Until next time.
For sure.